Hello and welcome to another edition of Extra Connections. I am James Lott Jr. here of JLJ Media. I am the JLJ of JLJ Media, and I like to bring you great content, especially this show, which is 3 years old. And we talk to people who are doing things in all kinds of industries. But this one is a definition of a working actor. Folks, oh, I mean, here we go. We're live. I'm working. See, you got somebody trying to reach him right now. Just this week, just dealing with this just this week. His first episode of Showtimes Yellowjackets premiered as we're taping this last night. He's also an upcoming episode of the big hit show Young Sheldon. I mean, we go talk about all the things he has going on right now, and what he's doing, how he got into the business, what does it mean to be in a business. And he goes by Pretty Tony Winters on IG. And he is pretty. Tony Winters. Hi, Tony.
That is not because I think I'm cute. It's just kind of a tip of the hat from the old Muhammad Ali days when he used to, I'm so pretty, I just kind of adopt. And then remember the Mac?
Yes.
Dick Anthony Williams played a character called Pretty Tony. And I said, how audacious is that to call yourself Pretty Tony? Mm-hmm. And then around my high school years, I adopted it, and then I kind of forgot all about it. And then after the advent of social media, you had to come up with a handle. So I said, well, what about Pretty Tony? And I get more S about it.
See, that's the point. That's what it stands out. You got to stand out, Tony, in this movie. You got to stand out. Let me ask you, because you and I are of a certain age group.
Okay.
And when I started this business, I'm sure when you did too, there wasn't social media. When I started, there was social media.
None.
There's nothing.
None.
So, what is social media in your life when it comes to your work? What is it to you? What do you do?
I guess primarily it's about promoting my acting career, because prior to the film I have coming out next month, I've never had a publicist.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. It wasn't in the budget. And
it's tough out here, folks. It's tough out here. Yeah.
Right. So for me, it was primarily a way to promote my acting career. And then I started reconnecting with old friends from Detroit, where I grew up. And so I guess it is a way to stay in touch with old friends and promote my acting career at the same time. If you follow me closely, you'll notice there's very little about my personal life.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Yeah.
So it's professional and personal to a lesser degree. I'm
the same way. I think a lot of us our ages are that way. We're kind of like, we're in the business. We're here to promote what the F we're doing. Check this out. Try this. See this. Look at that. This is coming. And his movie is coming out. It's called National Champions for December. We'll talk about that too, December 10th. But so have you got the hang of social media though? Have you got the hang of it? I know sometimes I don't get it. So I'm like, what am I doing? How am I doing this? What's going on?
Yeah, I know Facebook. I know Instagram. However, my Twitter game is comes up a little short. I don't quite get it. And I know you can get into a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Speaking of that, circling back to your original question, I don't do a lot of politics. I don't do any politics.
Same here. Yeah.
So nobody knows where I stand.
Good.
I think that's best. I don't get into arguments about, any particular issue or any particular candidate. I just stay clear that if you want to know how I feel, give me a call. If you got my number, you probably already know.
Same here, Tony. Same here.
Yeah.
So I like that. No, it's because social media is a thing now. Have you run across anything for you yet in terms of getting jobs or auditions concerning social media followers? Have you had any problems with that yet, or no, not yet?
No, the only problem it's funny. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I do have a pretty good YouTube page called Tony Winters TV.
Okay.
I've had one troll.
One
troll. And this guy, he haunts me. He haunts me in my sleep. I've got nothing but positive reinforcement from my friends and family for decades. Yeah. This one guy comes on and does a stream of conscious negative remarks about this and about that video, and it stayed in my head. It's funny, the one negative, I shouldn't say this, but the one negative comment stuck with it. Commentor stuck with me.
And it's always the one, right? It's always the one. Everybody says you're great, and then you get one, you're not great. You remember that,
right? It's like I read a book by Sammy Davis Jr. once, And he said he was playing to a sold out house in Miami, back in the 50s or 60s, but there was one chair that was empty. And he focused all night on that one chair. It was like some kind of harbinger of things to come in his life. It just haunted him. So I that's kind of the feeling that, this one guy had on me.
Yeah, his autobiography is actually really good, folks. If you don't get a chance to read it, it's a thick book. It's really good, though. I knew his last wife, Altavi, so that's how I got the book and everything. So it's a very comprehensive. I mean, Senator Jr. is a very interesting guy. First of all, how he came up, what he went through, that time period, how he was accepted in the rap. I mean, the whole thing was very interesting. So if you ever get a chance to read that book, folks, check it out. Really
called Yes I Can.
Yeah, I think it's what's called. Yeah. So it's really good. He's somebody I admire. It's always I'd like to this stuff. Okay, so Tony Winter, so you are in acting. I want to ask you, we're gonna start now and kind of go backwards a little bit.
Okay.
What keeps you in acting? It's a tough business. So what keeps you in it?
I really enjoy it. I mean, it is the perfect life for me. I like the new challenges that come with each new day. I like the new auditions that I get. And frankly, folks, I have to audition for everything.
Okay, folks, yes, audition. Okay.
Very few offers come my way. But I like putting on the clothes of a new character. If I had to do the same job day in, day out, going to the same office day in, day out, and performing the same tasks over and over again, I think I would shoot myself. So acting is like a gypsy life. It's a journeyman life, and it is quite honestly the perfect life for me.
Yeah, I like
and somebody else summed it up quite nicely. I am too lazy to work and too scared to steal.
Okay. Lazy to work and too scared to steal. I like that.
I did too.
I like that. My other career, I have two businesses. I do this media thing, of course, but I also have an organizing business.
Oh.
Years, professional organizer. And I always say that professional organizers are the laziest people in the world.
Really?
Like, what do you mean to go think about what I'm saying for a second? Like, just think about it for a second, I'll hit you. Oh, I get it. We have everything in place so that we don't have to do much work. Everything is where it is. So we say we're lazy. It's kind of like being funny.
Right.
We're lazy because we have everything we need is where it's supposed to be. And so I like your thing about that. Like, you don't all that. Okay, so when did you realize that this acting thing could be actually a career?
When did I realize that? Well, I aspired to as a teenager, but growing up in Detroit, in my school system, there was no drama program or anything like that. Okay. But I just had this vague notion that that's what I wanted to do with my life. And then between my junior and senior year in high school, I visited California for the first time. And I saw the Pacific Ocean, palm trees, clear blue skies. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is going on. I'm freezing.
Who didn't tell me it was going to be life? Yes.
Yeah. So my aunt, my dear Aunt Marva, drove me up to Hollywood. And I remember we were driving up what I know to be Gower now. We were driving up Gower near Melrose, and we were passing Paramount Studios, and I saw Happy Days up on the marquee, and I was like, whoa, okay. And then we took the Universal Studios tour. And at one point, the tram had to stop because they were actually shooting a television show. And I kind of had a revelation. I realized that this was a real industry. You know what I mean? Like in Detroit, we make cars and trucks and tires, but in Hollywood, they make movies and television shows and music. And I said, this is real. It became tangible at that point.
Yeah.
Then I went to college in San Diego. After high school, I graduated high school, went to San Diego, and I just did a string of plays for 4 years. And my last play was The Lilies of the Field.
Oh, wow.
I did a production of that. And I just got great notices in every play I ever did. quite frankly, without tooting my own horn, I never got a bad review. To this day, I've never gotten a bad review. That might change tomorrow, but I've never gotten a bad review. And I just thought, I had met some professional actors, and during my time in San Diego, and I said, I think I can do this. I think I'm as good as these guys, at least as good. And when I got to LA, I got a job as a tour guide at Universal Studios.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I sure did. And I just kind of hit the ground running and never looked back.
What is one thing you learned about being a tour guide? I've never been a tour guide, so I have no idea what that means.
What did I learn? That's a good question. It's a huge question to answer. Probably it will take more time than we have, because I consider it the last 2 years of college that I never had.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Yeah, and we were able to visit filming sets. So I got a chance to see up close and personal actors at work in front of the camera. I mean, at the time we were doing sitcoms like Facts of Life, Different Strokes, The Jeffersons, it was that era. And I used to go to these tapings, and I remember watching Sherman Hemsley.
Oh yeah, yes.
And I thought, I can do this. You have got to be kidding me. And just watching television shows and films, and I just knew I could do it. And also I learned a lot about the technical aspects of filmmaking, which, I had come from theater, so I had no idea. So I learned about almost every aspect of filmmaking. So yeah, it was a fantastic grad school for me, if you will.
I like that analogy. I mean, I've never. A lot of people have been tour guides and they move on to acting. So I just never done it before. So I was really curious. Now you've done some big shows. This business, it's a lot of auditions, and sometimes it's just background work. Sometimes it's under 5. Sometimes it's whatever. And on shows that don't even make it anywhere. Like you do shows that are pilots for something, they don't make it, or shows that are on for a season and in. But we talk as a couple. I just want to bring up, because they both were big in their field, so to speak.
Right.
Queen Sugar, and then Silicon Valley. You made there's Mayor, and both shows were critically acclaimed for different reasons, and both shows were very much highly watched. And I'm just curious, how did you get into the Oprah-owned family to get on Queen Sugar?
It's funny you picked those two shows, because anyway, I'll come back to.
Yeah, please connect them or whatever. Please do.
I'll connect them in a minute.
I watched both those shows. So that's why I know them both. So I watched them both. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of interesting. You were in both of these two shows that I liked, that were critically acclaimed, and they both were big deals, so to speak. They were big deals.
The short answer is, just before Queen Sugar, I was kind of thinking my run in Hollywood was over. I said, I had divorced, and it was a very dark time in my life. I had lost an agent, and through a series of circumstances, I ended up with a meeting with a new manager. And he said, man, you still got a lot of gas left in the tank. And he just reconfigured my whole career. I'm sorry, my whole career. Yeah. I found a new agent local to Los Angeles. I found a new commercial agent local to Los Angeles. And I also that year pledged to cast my net wider. I wanted to work outside of LA,
Smart.
So I found an agent in New Orleans. And the first thing I told him, I said, man, I really only want to do A-list stuff going forward. And the first audition he sent me was for a self-tape for a film called Thank You for Your Service, which I booked. And then that same casting director wanted to see me for NCIS New Orleans. Okay. Beautiful guest star role, which I didn't get. She called a couple of weeks later. She wanted to see me again for NCIS New Orleans for a smaller part, but a decent role nonetheless. I booked it. I fly to New Orleans, and while I'm there, my agent calls me and says, Tony, you want to read for this show called Queen Sugar while you're here? I said, well, I didn't know what it was because it hadn't aired yet. I said, sure. I knew it was on the OWN network, had something to do with Oprah Winfrey. I hadn't read the book. And I go over and I read, and the rest was history.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. That television, that show, Queen Sugar, gave me a street cred in the Black community that I had never had before.
Funny. Yeah.
Yeah. But and largely their audience is Black.
Right.
Now, and white folks don't know anything about Queen Sugar.
No. You know, my white friend Greg Vaughn was on Queen Sugar. But
really?
And that was the actor.
I know which character he plays. Yes,
exactly. But you're right. White folks don't know. They don't know about that.
And conversely, my Black friends knew nothing of Silicon Valley.
I'm from San Francisco. That's why I watched it. I'm from San Francisco. That's why I watched it.
It was like they existed in two different worlds.
Yeah.
You know, I would speak to my Black friends about Silicon Valley. They had no idea what it was. One of the hottest shows on television.
Right.
I spoke to my white friends about Queen Sugar. They had no idea.
I love it.
It's so funny that you picked those two shows, which were on the air at the same time.
Yeah,
they're of the same era. So I hope that answered your question.
Well, that's part of the answer. That's right. But that's what you're saying to us out there is you realize also this is a business. It's called show business.
Mm-hmm.
You had to sit and redo. You had to go, okay, now what? For me, it was last year during the pandemic when everything shut down. I had to sit and go, okay, now what? I can't do half the things I was doing before. And what does that look like? And we all had to do that. We all had to kind of sit down and think.
Yes, we did.
And I figured it out. But it's one of those things where it sounds like to me, you're going through a dark period. You're thinking, okay, I good run, Tony. You had a good time. You had a good time. Right. You got to pick up your shoes and go somewhere, else. And then you got somebody to say, no, let's just look at this differently. I love that idea.
Yeah.
You said casting that wider, because I have friends who have agents in Atlanta. They have a New York agent. Like, you're right. You have to kind of it's a business. You have to really figure it out, didn't you?
Absolutely. Had to just kind of rework things. And, new is good. And at a certain age, you don't want to try new things. Right. Sometimes, it's like, because you don't want to fail. You're kind of in a groove. You've been doing the same thing for 20 years, 30 years, and you don't know if they're ready for you. And I even going further back before Queen Sugar, I remember I was looking for people. Like I said, how I found this manager, and I sent out pictures, resumes, all over town to the top people. And I was overwhelmed by the number. I said, who are going to want to roll with me at this point in my life, And I was overwhelmed by the response. Everybody I met with wanted to sign me. And it was kind of reassuring, but I went with this manager and here I am talking to Mr. Lott Jr.
Yeah, exactly. So you're in LA, asking that you have some projects here and there and yonder, which is what actors are doing now. They're doing that now. They're flying here and there and doing the stuff, of course, and stuff. So they start landing some things, and one of the things I want to talk about, is you saw Yellowjackets on Showtime. Describe your character on that show.
I play the improbably named Vice Principal Berzonsky.
Why not?
I saw it in the sides. I said, well, I don't think they're really checking for me right on this part. But I had a take on the character that I knew the rest of these guys, these Berzonsky types, weren't going to have. And you develop this kind of swag where you say to yourself, well, they're going to change the role to fit me. Well, I booked the role. They didn't change it at all. And when I went to shoot, on my character's desk was the nameplate Vice Principal Berzonsky. I thought they would have changed it to Williams or Jefferson or Washington.
Right, Jackson. Right, exactly.
Exactly.
I love that. Why not?
Yeah. Why not? So anyway, Vice Principal Berzonsky is you have to. Did you watch the show at all? It's about a girls' championship soccer team from the mid-90s who who are in flight to play in a tournament. Yeah. And their plane crashes and they're lost in the Canadian wilderness and they, become these warring tribes. And anyway, my character in one scene, I'm introducing them at a pep rally, but in my most important scene, I'm doing a documentary, I believe, follows the girls. There's someone trying to make a documentary about their experience out in the Canadian wilderness, which they've all pledged not to talk about. So she's coming to talk to some of the people that were around them. So I'm one of the interviewees. What's interesting is that you meet my character both in 1996 and in 2021. So I had to age or de-age 25 years new.
How to do that? How to do that? So clever makeup and a hair piece. What do they do?
All of the above. Some characters you work from the inside out, some you work from the outside in. This guy was from the outside in. So for my younger self, I lost my mustache, wore the hair piece, almost the kid and play.
Right here, yeah.
Wasn't that high? It wasn't that high. In my heyday, it wasn't that high. And then, for my contemporary self, it was more basically what you're seeing right now.
Very cool.
So that was fun. That was fun exercise.
That's very cool.
First time I ever did something like that.
I love the name. I love the name. Now, who you playing in Young Sheldon, which is a huge hit show? It's the #1 comedy I think on TV.
Young Sheldon was really just a bit, but they offered guest star billing. And
explain to people who don't know what that.
Okay, there are levels to their series regular, which is the holy grail. Everybody wants to be a series regular. If you're guesting on the show, it's called top of the show guest star. That means you make, we can talk turkey, you make the best money.
Yeah.
You make top money, and you get billing that says guest star, and your name rolls in the opening credits generally, depending on the style of the show. Co-star is a smaller role. And they play, those credits will roll at the end, and the money isn't as good. Now, when I started in this business, there was also featured or featuring.
Yeah.
That was the bottom.
Yes, I know those. I know those. Yes.
It was usually a guy. One line. I used to have. It's funny you bring this up. I used to have my first agent in this town was called. My second agent in this town was called Feature Players. That was their specialty. They specialized in the guy you watch on the show with one line, the cop, police freeze, or, there's a call for you on line 1, that sort of thing. That's what they special. And that was the first 10 years of my career, man. No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they gave you a guest starring billing. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's why I was open to doing this smaller role, and I knew how hot the show was because this one is CBS. I believe it's CBS top comedy.
Yeah, top comedy. Yeah.
But check this, James. It was the role of a porter on a train.
Okay.
And it really struck me because I'm an old movie buff. As you know, I was a tour guide at the studio. So I got to thinking about guys like Willie Best and Mantan Moreland and guys of that ilk.
Oh yeah.
Played porters on trains, Clarence Muse.
Yeah.
And I said, this is my one opportunity, because when else will I have the chance to don that uniform with that hat and become part of that pantheon? So I accepted the role, and so there's a fantasy sequence that Sheldon envisions on his toy train, but I am playing a porter.
That's very cool. And I want to ask about that, because what does your Blackness mean in this business for you? I mean, do you try to find roles sometimes that honor our ancestry or our stories, or are you just busy being an actor trying to find whatever roles you can get? I mean, like,
I always had a social consciousness about it. Even very, very early on, even in my theater days in San Diego, I wouldn't do things that I had two criteria were my North Star. One, my grandmother had to be able to see it. God rest her soul.
Go on, Granny. That's right.
And secondly, it couldn't be embarrassing to Black people. it couldn't be degrading to Black people. That was really only my criteria. And frankly, I've never been really asked to do anything, because most of what I get, James, most of what even I audition for is non-race specific.
Oh, very good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most of the time when I go to an audition, they're white guys. Well, when I used to go to auditions,
Yes.
there were white guys there, Asian guys there, Hispanic guys there, all waiting for the same role. And but there have been a few. My most notable race-specific role was on Smart Guy. There was an episode in which Essence Atkins' character worked for a racist store owner, a clothing store, and she would be forced to follow Black patrons around the store. My character enters, and the lady starts following me around, and it turns out that I actually own the chain of clothing stores. So I had to be Black to play that role.
Oh, no, right. You're right. That one you had to be. Yeah, you had to be.
Yeah.
Interesting. No, because I'm a person who tries to infuse my ancestry in my shows, my interviews, and the things that I do. I do audio dramas. I try to infuse that in some stuff because I feel it's important, just because I know what I look like and or representation matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like you. I don't want to do anything that's going to set us back 100 years, 200 years, 300 years.
Right.
We don't have to anymore. I mean, those roles that our people before us had to take, we have options now. I mean, whether people believe that or not, we do have options, folks. Black folks out there in acting, we do have options. I know it's tough. You feel like you want to take whatever you can get to get there, but not all roles are good roles.
And additionally, I never really got asked to do that kind of stuff, even back in the days and I'm not casting aspersions, but when we were doing the broad comedies, the Martins and the Fresh Princes of Bel-Air and the Wayans brothers, shows of that sort, nobody was checking for Tony during that time. So
I like that.
Yeah.
So now this new movie you have coming out on December 10th, which is coming up in a few weeks. It'll be here before you know it. December will be here before you know it. Called National Champions. And if I'm correct, it's starring J.K. Simmons, to the old family names we know, Kristen Chenoweth. Tell us about that and what you're doing in that role.
Oh man, James, I have to preface this by saying it is, and I'm not blowing smoke, bro. I am not blowing smoke. It is the best script I ever read. And I've read hundreds.
Wow.
Yeah. And additionally, the best role I ever got in a mainstream motion picture.
Okay. Please explain. Please elaborate. I mean, that's.
Here we go. It's in this film, Stephan James, who you know.
Yeah.
From If Beale Street Could Talk, he plays a college quarterback on the eve of the national championship game, and he along with Alexander Ludwig's character ignite a strike for compensation for the players, which is part of the national debate right now.
Yeah.
And I play a character named Wes Martin, who is the head of the Big 12 conference, and me and a couple of other guys are brought in to manage this situation. Let's just put it like that. That's probably as much as I can say without.
Yeah, right. Yeah, don't give it away. Just
it's coming over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's and complications ensue, conflicts ensue, and I got it. I haven't seen the whole film yet. I had a chance to do a little ADR on it. It looks beautiful, man. It looks like it's so real and so raw that it looks like a freaking documentary. It looks like this is unfolding right in front of your eyes on the real tip. And I think this is what the brilliant, brilliant director Rick Roman Raw was going after. And I think he succeeded mightily.
So you get this script, you actually read hundreds of thousands of scripts.
Yeah.
And what was the first thing that popped out for you? Was you're just like the humanity of it, that was raw feeling. I mean, what was the first thing that popped out for you?
First of all, before my character entered the script, I was intrigued by the timeliness of the debate, of the issue at hand. That really captured my attention, and the way gosh. The way
don't get away. Just
no, I can't. That's what I'm trying to be judicious in my words, trying to choose them carefully.
I'm very curious. You said it just the best. I mean, that's a big thing to say.
Yeah. Really well, I can say. I think I can safely say this: that the writer had written it as a play.
Oh, okay.
So it reads like a drama that it reads like something you see in the theater. Yeah. And he adapted it to a screenplay. So it's very heavy on the drama, and some really fantastic performances, which I was able to witness firsthand. A timely debate. It's coming out during the middle of college football season, so I just think I think this is going to capture the imagination of the country, man, the zeitgeist, if you will.
National Champions, which opens December 10th. That is the film we're talking about. So what's coming up for Tony winners other than this stuff? Anything else coming up right now that you're working on, you can talk about, or are you just kind of auditioning? Like, what are you doing?
Man, the last thing I did that's in the can after National Champions is released, it's called 2 Degrees, the series. A very good buddy of mine, his name is Carl Gilliard. He's probably my closest Hollywood collaborator. I produced a couple of films back in the day, the straight to DVD stuff during that era.
Oh yeah.
Well, on the show,
I'm in a few of those. I'm not yours. I'm in a few of those. I
gotta look you up, man.
Yes. Yes.
I produced this romantic comedy called Retiring Tatiana, and another film which Carl was a producer on, and I produced a second film called Section 8, which Carl was the director of. So when he decided to spread his wings and try something other than acting, he came up with the concept of what life was like for him, being of a certain age, after his second divorce and before his third marriage. What that journey.
Yeah. Sure.
So he recruited me to write and direct an episode, which was the first time I had ever done it, which is a tremendous amount of work, but it was so much fun and so gratifying. I think watching actors and the skilled technicians behind the cameras execute your vision, I don't even think nailing a scene as an actor, that used to be the ultimate for me.
Right.
But watching actors do your stuff.
No, Tony, I'll tell you something, because I have these audio dramas that I write and direct. And you're right, the first time these actors brought my words to life, I got teary-eyed. I'm not even crying. I got teary-eyed. I'm like, you're reading my words, but you're also acting my words. Like, it's a trip.
Good.
It's a trip. It's a trip.
Yeah.
So for you, directing, you must have a bigger appreciation for directors then, don't you?
Well, I always had. Like I said, I produced a couple of things and I hired directors, and I've worked with them for the last 40 years. So I always kind of had an appreciation and an understanding of what they did, but to actually be in that seat, calling the shots, calling, the action and cut was, it was a lot, man, and I didn't always grasp everything technologically speaking. I was always more concerned with the performances and the staging of the scenes. But fortunately, I had a great AD and a great cinematographer who helped me bring my vision to life. Yeah. And was able to bring in some of my friends, not all of them.
Always fun. Always fun to work together. It's always fun to help your friends out, or they've helped you out.
Dude, fun. I'm in your next radio drama. I'm sorry. I'm going to speak to you about that on camera. I was going to wait till we were done.
I would be honored to have you on one of my shows. Oh my goodness, I would be honored. We have all these productions all the time. I would be honored to have you on my shows.
Well, please call anytime, man.
Oh my God, well, thank you for Tony. I'll keep that in mind. Well, your personality and exuberance comes through the Zoom. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, it shows that you aren't done yet. You have a lot more in you. I can totally tell you do. And that's something that like I said, business is tough. It's a tough up and down, sideways, around the way business. That I think you have to either be super crazy and or love it to be still in it. And I'm both.
Oh.
I'm both. Yeah, both.
We are kindred spirits, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. What else? Because what else would you be doing? I mean, this is what you should. You're where you're supposed to be.
And also, James, you know, at a certain point in life, you kind of reach that point of no return. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is what I do now, for better or for worse. I'm an actor and who writes and has produced a couple of things. Yes. And he directed one. And so, and I always say that Hollywood has kept me working just enough to keep me interested. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. like, we're not done with you completely yet. We're gonna hold on to a little bit.
Everyone, they keep doing me a gig every now and then. And I keep doing it.
I love that. Thank you, Tony, for being on the show. You are a joy. And so anytime you want to come back on, promote anything, anytime.
James Lott, you're the man. I appreciate you, and I thank you for your time, sir.
So Pretty Tony Winters is he on IG, and he has a YouTube channel called Tony Winters TV. National Champions opens on December 10th. He's in Young Sheldon coming up soon on CBS, and of course Yellowjackets on Showtime. They repeat episodes all the time. So you can check. I'm sure you can check out the episode he was on this week. And I'm James Lott Jr. Of course, you can follow me. We're all James Lott Jr. is sold at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. JLJ Media is my online network. I'm one of the few men of color who has his own network. So please support me. Support a brother. Help me. Like the subscribe button. It's down here. Hit the subscribe button. It's down there somewhere. Be kind. Rewind. And everyone, please connect with people. Connect with places. Connect with things. Whether it's a book, movie, music. Celebrate the arts. Support the arts. The arts are very important. They're just as important as politics and law and health, and actually they enhance all of those things. So art is not something frivolous. It is something that we should be celebrating and connecting with. And we'll see you next time.